What is your typical race day schedule?
Ooh, my race day schedule. Usually wake up as late as possible because I'm quite fortunate. I've got an RV now at the track, which is good. So wake up, have a cup of coffee usually before I leave, and maybe a couple of slices of toast. Nothing too heavy before the first practice.
So how does it feel racing without fans at the trackside this season?
Yeah, you know, it's just not the same. I grew up watching touring cars. I used to love going to watch touring cars, and that's what BTCC really is all about, is having the fans there and the support. And it's funny, when you're actually driving on the track, you don't really notice people too much, but it's on the outlap and the inlap where you really do sort of miss that atmosphere. So fingers crossed, everyone can be back soon.
Do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions?
Pre-race rituals, I used to have quite a few. I was quite superstitious. I used to have a Nando's on a Thursday night every single time. I used to have a double chicken wrap, medium spice, halloumi cheese inside the wrap, some chips and corn. And that was every Thursday. I've driven 50 minutes, 45 minutes before to get a Nando's at Thruxton, Southampton. And I've had lucky pants as well. It's a pair of pants that actually had lucky pants right on them, and I only ever wore them on a Sunday on a race weekend. And this year I haven't worn them. Maybe I should dig them back out again.
Aside from your teammates, who do you fear most in your rearview mirror this season?
Ooh. To be honest, most people on the grid. No one in British touring cars likes to give up an inch, so really, from lap 1 till the end, there's never anybody not in your rearview mirror, so you've got to keep your wits about you and your eyes all over the place.
What's been your favourite track across all your seasons as a BTCC driver?
Ooh. I've got a short-term memory. I like the ones I do well at, really. So last year, I'd have said, can we have 10 Silverstones this year? I've gone well at Snetterton before in the past, whether that be in Clios and touring cars, things like that. So I think Snetterton 300's up there.
Going back to that race at Silverstone in 2019, what was going through your head as you led the pack and headed to the finish line?
The last 7 or 8 laps, couldn't see out the windscreen because the header strip flew off and filled the car with water. So really I was just making sure I didn't crash. That was the most important thing. I had my engineer on the radio letting me know the sort of gaps to the cars behind, so making sure I didn't have to push too hard and make a mistake basically. But then when we crossed the line, it was obviously joy for myself, but actually more so for the team to see what it meant to all the boys and girls at Team Hard to get their first win in the BTCC.
What are your thoughts about racing in the new breed of hybrid cars heading to the BTCC?
Yeah, I was sort of near the start of the NGTC regs. I think they came out a year or so before I came into it. So to be at the start of the next generation of regulations means I've been around for quite a while actually. No longer a new boy. Been around for 2 lots of regs. But I think it's good. I think the way the world's going, you know, people like to be seen to be green. Companies like to be involved in green motorsport. So I think definitely it's a positive. Hopefully it'll bring some new manufacturers into the championship and hopefully keep our sponsors happy at the same time.
Many BTCC drivers have other day jobs away from motor racing. If you weren't a racing driver, what career would you really have wanted to follow or been famous for?
So, funny fact, I'm not sure if anybody knows this, but I actually was a mechanic in British touring cars before I was a driver. So I went to Silverstone Motorsport College and did motorsport engineering, did that for 2 years. And then I went to actually work for Matt Jackson, so I'm not sure if he's watching this video. I was probably a T-boy or something like that. But yeah, I actually worked in 2008, I think it was, on Matt Jackson's BMW, so the 3 Series BMW. So I probably would have ended up as an engineer or a mechanic in the British Touring Car Paddock.
The VW Passats get retired at the end of the season and you've been involved with driving them on and off going back to 2013. Will you miss them in the BTCC?
I've definitely got a soft spot for the VW, obviously having driven it in a few different guises across the years. I'd have a bigger soft spot if I was leading the championship right now in it, but obviously I've got good memories. Like I say, last year at Silverstone, getting the team's first win was pretty special in that car, so it's quite nice to be sort of finishing the year or finishing its last year at the championship in the VWCC. And yeah, it will be a little bit of a sad moment seeing it go. Tony probably more so than me, after all the money he's invested in it over the years, that we haven't won the championship with it, but hopefully there's big things to come in the future.
Our breakdown brand and co-sponsor is obviously Auto Aid, who cover older and classic vehicles. So we know you drove a modern classic at Goodwood very recently, but if you could own any class vehicle of say 30 years or more of age, price not an issue, what would it be?
I've recently got into my classics because basically at the Goodwood Revival I got to race a couple of years back now, and it sort of opened my eyes to the benefits and the uniqueness of classic cars. I do a lot of work with Rolls-Royce, sort of modern cars more so. So it's pretty cool to own a classic Rolls-Royce, or any Rolls-Royce actually. If they fancy let me have one, I'm more than happy to take one. But actually I've got a real soft spot for like the Cortinas and the Minis at the Revival and the St Mary's Trophy. So yeah, probably something like that.
Something every race fan will want to know, when in plain clothes and away from the track, do you always look for the fastest way for a corner and the clip points when driving, legal speed limit of course, on twisty A and B roads?
I'm probably one of the slowest drivers on the road going. I work for Rolls-Royce quite a bit, so I do a lot of chauffeuring, which is the opposite of racing in British touring cars really. So it's nice, relaxed, cruising, be nice and smooth, no sudden stops. So I'd say I'm quite chilled out on the road, touch wood. I've never had a point in my licence ever. Guarantee I'm going to get one now, aren't I, next week? But yeah, I'm pretty slow and steady to be honest. But I guess I do the speed limit. But I do the speed limit everywhere, so roundabouts do tend to become a right-hand bend quite a lot of the time.
We've heard you enjoyed a rather large TV in your garden over the summer months. What's your favourite TV programme or series been this year?
Ooh, yeah, so one of my sponsors, Candio Vision, they were lucky enough to provide, we were lucky enough for them to provide us with a home cinema system. So obviously I got set up in the garden because we was in lockdown and well, we had nothing really else to do, so it's perfect timing. I'm trying to think what my favourite series, I've watched a lot of series in the last 6 months that probably everybody else has done. What is it?
Bloodline.
I've been told what my favourite series is. Bloodline is actually very good, and I think that's Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix, yeah, so everyone out there watch Bloodline.